I think he's all good to go.
Just
Oh,
stand
Willsy. Yes! Fuck yes, bro. What is that?
Some tequila.
Oh, I mean, I feel like I shouldn't leave you in it alone.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Still going to be better and more cognitive than the first time we tried this.
Yeah, I believe so. I reckon.
It's definitely not as bad when you can sip it. Tequila's horrendous as a shot, though.
Yeah, you have to commit to that whole fucking lot. All right.
So we're going to attempt to play this game whilst also having a chat about some shit.
We'll see how that goes. See how split focused we can get.
See how far we go before we're like, this is kind of weird. We're trying to have the cake and eat it too.
Yeah, it's a cool concept though.
I like playing chess with you, mate, so I'm sure it'll be good fun.
That's always a good game.
Not think about it too much.
Yeah. Well,
you start, mate.
Well, hello.
Well, hello.
My name is Wills.
Hey, Willsy. Thanks for coming on, bro.
That's good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I think it's been a while in the making. The first time around that we tried it, I got too high. And I couldn't keep track of my thoughts.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's definitely being posted.
I wanna at least cut out the little snippet where I'm like, you know what I mean, man? And you go, nah, no, sorry, bro. I actually don't know what you're talking about. I was so gutted because I dug such a hole and I just didn't know how to get out of it. And I was hoping you were going to give me an escape route, but it just never came.
Oh,
it was actually your turn, wasn't it?
Is it? Oh, it is too. Well, this is already proven to be difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got it.
You got it.
Well,
this time around, a little bit more cognitive.
Exactly. Would hope so anyway.
And you've probably spent a little bit more time thinking about it too, in general. After having, talked about it ages ago and then just having it cook away in your mind.
Yeah, and having it simmer, just the idea of the conversation concept just simmer in my mind, It's good thinking about the whole, I guess the raw question of it. What was your raw question is...
Yeah, initially I wanted to ask people whether they thought it would make their lives easier. But I realised it was kind of a leading question, bit of a, hey, do you think this is a good thing or not? Or, hey, don't you think this would be great for you? Whereas now it's just more a general discussion about it as a concept rather than saying, do you think it's a good or a bad thing? It's more, what do you think about it at all?
Yeah, more open-ended.
Yeah, way more open-ended.
More, subjective to the person, not just being like, yeah, I'd fucking have some free food and fucking water and fucking power and everything,
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess, jumping off where we were last time, of being like, would it make your life easier if you had free food and power and everything, and shelter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think water and shelter. Power is an interesting one, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can go find water.
Yeah.
Surely that's not illegal.
No, it's not. It's not illegal. You're right.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think I remember coming to the conclusion of trying to define easy.
Yeah.
And fulfillment in life, and if just getting handouts is never gonna lead you to feel fulfilled just because you haven't worked for it, Yeah. I think that's where we kind of got to last time. So there's something on your nose and it's bothering me.
Yeah.
Nice.
You don't get any character from not having to work for stuff.
Yeah, on the notion of hard times make hard men.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
and I think my favorite thing that you said during that, which I've actually mentioned on a few other episodes so far, which is, it would make things a lot easier physically but harder mentally. I thought that was such a bar, man.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the less hard we have to work for things, the more our our minds are craving for some sort of complexities, and if we can't apply it to those simple things, we start trying to find complexities within I don't know, ourselves, creating drama and just squabbling about religion and shit like that. Whereas I don't know, like when it's a real work for like survival, I feel like a lot of purpose comes from it, you know, like there's like I look at like monkey tribes and they're just like they know what they're doing. They're not like, I don't know, out here living beyond their means, you know, they're just kind of like
Yeah.
surviving. And it
Yeah.
must mean a lot to them to be alive. Whereas we can get pretty like in a weird mental hole as humans, you know, with having all those handouts, I guess.
Being your own kind of our own worst tormentors as well in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like boredom will be the death of us.
Yeah. Well, or overstimulation,
Yeah.
arguably.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, with regards to the physical versus mental struggle and the worthiness of having put in work and gained something from that, I think it's like a bit of a jump. It's not a jump, but there's two different camps of where people will put that extra energy into. Like you said, it's not like we lose our want to have something to do or be in some sort of structure. And so then you said, you know, you can go into the squabbles of religion or self-tormenting and all of that. But it's, you know, I always will try to play the optimist and assume that people are gonna do those. They'll still have that drive and want to do that stuff, but they could just put it into, you know, for example, you could just do music or 24/7, which is pretty much what you do. You know, obviously you got a green thumb and you're, you know, whiz in the garden and you know how to do all of that. And you might even still continue to do that sometimes, but yeah, I guess I kind of assume people are going to put that extra energy just
into something good.
Yeah.
And I like to believe that as well. I think there's an optimist in me that believes that, like, you know, you hear people talk about like we're going through an awakening, and like I kind of believe in a certain shape or form, like we're all starting to realize some shit as like a collective. But like, and I want to believe that we can sort of like almost like reach a new sort of plateau of consciousness within that. Maybe I classed as boredom before, but like, you know, there's something in there, definitely, for sure, if we can like focus on like all of our, just focus inwards really, because like our mind's the fucking universe really. There's so much to obtain, but as well there's so much fruit in like not having shit just given to you, you know, when you're like, it's like kind of like when you grow veggies in your own garden and you get to eat it, and you're like, holy shit, I did that, and it's possible for me to sustain myself, and it's like
a valuable part of
and
life.
it's not exactly free, you know, because you put the time and the effort into it, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
There's definitely two sides to the coin.
I suppose in a way though, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that angle of, you know, not having to work for that sort of stuff, it's like people technically don't, you know, they do whatever they want to do and the food's pre-packaged and ready to go at the supermarket anyway. So it's like they're still indirectly working for it, but it's not directly, you know. So in a way, I mean, for example, some people in more privileged positions don't even contemplate the idea of those things being growable or whatever. It's just like that. All that stuff comes from the supermarkets, especially kids. You know, don't even know what it means for that connection between there's an animal, like there's something in that package, and that's actually like an animal that was alive that's now been, you know, gone through a whole process to get there. So, you kind of got two sides there where it's like, I suppose it's what we're talking about is whether or not people can change the core thing that they gain the most meaning out of without compromising the amount of satisfaction that comes from that.
Yeah.
And that's why I said with power, right? It's so providing is kind of what we're talking about, right? So providing food, water, and shelter is those are the first things we provide. Whereas in this hypothetical world, the baseline things that people provide could be like power, clothes, and then the extras. So, you know, because I obviously it's a working model and we'll talk about it in lots of different ways, but you could have food at a very basic level free, you know, high quality stuff, but the basic stuff. So all the extra stuff, you know, sauces, stuff like that, you know, all of that is still going to cost money. So there's still plenty of condiments and food to buy. So in a way, it's really not like taking away that much of people's need to provide.
Yeah.
But it's taking a chunk of it.
Yeah.
And I think that because we're so calloused in life and we've created this toughness around providing for ourselves constantly, we kind of, the thought of it seems so easy without those, you know, with just a little bit of help. Not everything, just with a little bit of help, we quickly switch to this mindset of, oh, well, that's too easy, everyone's going to be lazy, we're just going to do nothing. It's like, there's still heaps to do. Yeah. You just, I think people underestimate how much shit they already do now, you know, and see a lot of it as just, well, I've just got to do that. It's like, well, that's good. But, you know, you're still doing it. Acknowledge that there's more to it than just getting food, water, and shelter. Like,
exactly.
You also pay power, Wi-Fi, subscriptions for your YouTube.
And like we're creative beings. There's like a lot of time that we can just like dedicate to that sort of like just different outlets other than just trying to survive, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe we can like collectively as a consciousness, you know, progress, take a step in the right direction, like inwards, if we can like get to a point where I guess, you know, where we didn't have to work so hard for all of that stuff. But one thing that you said before got me thinking, just like, because like with a little bit of help, like a lot of governments around the world, they kind of, we do give a little bit of help. Like we've got all those, we've got benefit systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean like, and they're good and they kind of make sense for when people need it. And there's definitely, I don't know. There's definitely, it's weird because if we like back it up all out, the whole picture, like there's enough wealth in the world if we all just like shared it around, like would kind of be all goods. But like, you know, there's a few cunts that don't want to do that. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I guess, I don't know what we do about it because there's like real good aspects to the capitalist world, like where we can live in like kind of like socialist, you know, we can get handouts and stuff and you can like kind of sit on handouts and not really do much with your life. But the capitalist like sort of regime allows you, like if you really knuckle down and get into it, you can have heaps. But it's like that whole mindset has just like ended up with like, you know, that just the wealth gap, like everyone knows it, like of how wealth gap's getting bigger. And like, I don't know how it must feel to be one of those like 1% people just being like, nah, my money. Like, I don't know. I think that's where some consciousness, like shift in consciousness could do some good, you know? Yeah, in terms of changing the 1%'s perspective on it. Yeah, because it's a bit unfair. But maybe we're too populated or, you know, there's some big questions at hand for like the future of our population and shit like that for those people in the driver's seat, you know? Yeah, well, that's where I kind of pose the question of who's in the driver's seat, right? Because it's pretty crazy and almost lazy to just go, oh, well, it's the 1%. It's like, oh, okay, they control all of the money, right, but they don't control the 99% of people's everyday decisions. Yeah. Oh, you better believe there's an influence. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. And that's because of so many things. So many different forces. And I want to believe that like those monks in the Himalayas that are just putting in those hours are fucking bending our fucking... holding it down. The wave of subconscious thought that we all fucking pick from. Like, hopefully they're just sort of making some good ones go, or like, you know, sort of like, I feel like we can all sort of subconsciously like move in the right direction if we all really pick to do it. I think I'm at a point now where I've read enough and heard enough about the whole idea of energy as matter and the idea of vibrations, frequencies, their importance, and how capable every individual is of actually manipulating them. And obviously beyond that, how capable people are of manipulating them in a negative way. Because there has to be like a self-centered way, not outward way. Yeah, and I think that where I'm at now is rather than sort of assuming that it's all a conspiracy theory and really out the gate to think about the government or some body of people having a really
big amount of control in doing bad things to people with the technology and the resources that they have. I prefer to think about it in the way of, if so much is being achieved by such a small percentage of the population, imagine what can be achieved when the majority of the percentage of the population decides to do a really small amount, you know, because it's
and surely that has a ripple effect on like onwards, like
it's got to,
like generationally, you know, like young, like just showing the young a bit, like not even, it's like it goes beyond leading by example. It's almost like subconsciously leading by example, because enough people turn that leaf, you know, like it'd be the obvious thing to do. Yeah, it's like it's a balance of just like, because I guess like consciousness is inherently selfish because it's yours, you know, you're the one that's got the conscious, you're the one that's conscious, and so it kind of, you know, you can't help but to like, everyone's got a little bit of narcissism in them because they're the ones thinking the thoughts,
and that's what keeps them alive. Is being that little bit selfish. It's
it's like,
this is valuable.
Yeah, and it is, and it's like belongs to, like you are your consciousness. So it's like there deserves to be some sort of respect, but like it's like getting a grip of that selfishness and realizing, just come to terms with everyone's on that same plane, you know.
Yeah, which kind of eventually cancels out in a lot of ways when you start to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, we're all maybe the same consciousness, or who knows? You know, that's big questions there. But
and I'm all for that as well. I believe in it in a lot of ways, in terms of the ways that we express ourselves, the similarities between how we interact with our environment. Lots of things are there to suggest that there is some sort of collective consciousness. Even just people coming up with ideas and then that being then discovered in other places in the world unrelated, you know.
Literally, like
things like that are pretty hard to just go, oh well, that's just a coincidence. It's like, how many times can that be a coincidence before you go, bro, you know, there's something here. But like you said, it's that individual the individual's feeling about the value of their consciousness, and then scaling that up so people feel that way about the collective consciousness as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all like, I guess, you know, it's all in a big even yin and yang. Everything's got its like equal counterpart, and if anyone's like got an overinflated consciousness, there's, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, there's going to be like a negative or, you know, opposite effect with someone maybe in the same vicinity having like a smaller consciousness, you know, trying to just find like a nice level of outwardness and inwardness with your, like, I guess, thoughts.
There's this part in the Celestine Prophecy, that book that I'm reading, where it talks about energy manipulation, and it's basically the idea that you can gain energy from two places, right? Which is either the source, which comes from just pure love and appreciation for something, or that combined with you being in an activity like a flow state, you know, you're connected with a source and you get an amount of energy and love to give through you as a vessel to whatever you got going on, right? That's why when you play and you get off stage, you're just charged, you know, and all sorts of stuff like that. But typically, because people haven't spent time figuring out how to find their version of their access to the source, people typically get their energy from other people. And so how do you do that is by dominating other people in conversations or social situations, physically or verbally or mentally.
Demanding attention.
Exactly. And in doing so, you actually just physically take their energy. Like, whenever you go into a room, you're kind of sucking them of their energy and you're getting it. So,
and somewhere along those lines, that needs to be an equal agreement.
Yeah. Right. And so that's where it comes down to, well, self-love is obviously that first step towards making it so that when you have interactions with people, that you don't have the need to be grabbing from them what they have in order to sustain you. Instead, it's more of a mutual, you know, reciprocation of energy, which is a healthier.
And it's handy, and it comes easy when someone has like looked within, like you said, like, you know, gets the energy from the source and not tries to, you know, reap it off others. Yeah, it's like, and it makes it easier that way. But I feel like, and it's always a tango with like exchanging energy, you know, like when we're in a conversation or just not even conversating, it's always like a pull and release, you know, someone's got more, someone's giving less, and it's going up and down. But yeah, I just wish that 1% would give their money.
Yeah, well, money is energy in a lot of ways. You know?
Well,
so
it's just an agreement. It's just like it's just energy. Yeah, it's like not tangible.
Think about it this way, right? So if the fabric of reality is manifested and created by conscious thought, so you and everything that you have is somehow a reflection of the way that you perceive yourself and what you're worthy of, right, on an individual scale. If that's the case, it would make sense that the same is true on a collective scale, and for whatever reason, the majority of people have had and currently have the mindset that this is what we deserve, how the world is.
Yeah.
And waking up every day and having a grind to overcome, a class to break out of, whatever that may be, a certain expectation or level to reach, kind of told from the very outset. The rule of your reality is, just so you know, you have a really long way before you can get to that place where there's the 1% or the money or everything that you desire.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, not to say that that's untrue, there's obviously work involved, but I think we make the molehill a mountain a little bit, and we kind of go, this is such a big deal, it's so hard to get out of here.
We just solidify ourselves in our own reality so hard.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so it's a long way out of here, well, I'm never going to get out.
Yeah,
it's
like, they're just like, well, this is me, this is my life.
Yeah, and then
this
it's
is
like,
what happens to me because it's what always happens. And people just, it says that you choose that reality.
Yeah, yes, God's just saying yes. You go, I'm stuck and I'm broken, I'm good. Yes.
There you go. That's it.
Okay. It's like, oh, I'm on my way out. I'm getting better slowly, and I think that I can get to where I want to be. Yeah, yes, you can.
Getting into like, I was like reading something that's interesting, just of like, it's getting into like the whole notion of like, we're in a simulation.
Yeah.
But like, of just like how everything's kind of quantum, you know, nothing exists, you know, like everything is like, the options are infinite until you like observe it, basically. That whole like, Schrodinger's cat or whatever.
Schrodinger, yeah. I'm with you.
And it's kind of like, reality's kind of like that stuff, you know, your life and everything, like even when you wake up in the morning and go to work, like that like course is not like as undetermined until you do it, and it kind of like plays into this whole like kind of simulation vibes a little bit. I don't know. I wish I could explain that better, but like it's just like something that I just like heard, and it's like got my mind ticking, you know?
Yeah, the existence of free will isn't necessarily something that gives people or makes people determined to try and max out the amount of, you know, use of it that they possibly can. And what I mean by that is breaking out of the sort of structure that you build for yourself, your routine. So like you say, going to work every day and doing all of that, you don't often think about all the opportunities for spontaneity because you're going to work. That's what you're doing.
And you're like basing it all off what has happened as well. Like you're not looking at those infinite options. You can't see the infinite options ticking. You're just like, oh well, it was usually like that.
Yeah. So it's like, have you heard the one of the red car experiment? They had a bunch of people come to an interview and they asked them how many red cars they saw along the way, and then
I was ringing bells,
and they didn't see very many, maybe one or two, and then they said, you need to go out next time when you come back and look for red cars on your way, and then they saw 10 or 15 or 20 or you know, a whole bunch of red cars. And so the idea there is that red cars are just like opportunities in your life. If you're not looking for opportunities, then you might see a couple every now and then. But if you walk out the door every day and go, where is it?
It's almost playing into that manifest of like collective conscious, subconscious way of like, if people going out there starting to look for red cars, it's almost as if they're spawning red cars by thinking about it.
Yeah, kind of like you're attracting
like
red
enough
cars
people thinking about the same thought, the same manifestation. And it's like, bing, there it is. Like we all know about like that manifestation, manifest your reality, and it works. And we've had trippy moments where it's like, holy shit, that kind of works.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. It's quantum reality of just, you kind of choose it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Matt, I think so. I think there's a decent role there to play. I think the hard part is actually grabbing onto that, though, because we often don't really acknowledge the things that we have sort of created for ourselves, because we see, by the time we get it, we're programmed to go, okay, cool, what's the next thing?
Yeah. Just going to manifest that. That 1% is going to share it around.
Yeah.
And
So this is my thing here, bro. If you want them to do that, there's got to be people behind it, Like philanthropists exist. People want to back stuff up, but there needs to be work being put in on the ground level to, move the troops.
Yeah.
Get the people involved. Otherwise, what are you investing in, It's just giving some random, like somebody just gives me a bunch of money. It's like, who knows what I'm up to?
Yeah, or maybe what's going on is exactly what needs to happen. Maybe it's all for the greater good, and we're all on like this, like, there's suffering is gonna maybe because like everything's yin and yang. It's got to be maybe this amount of suffering that is just seems to be scoped in on our social media that we all see. It's got to be equal to the amount of joy that's had.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
But it's like pretty just handy to swallow that. I'm gonna make a move.
Oh yeah, been a while.
That's my move, right?
It is.
Cool.
Damn. I think that's probably one of the scarier thoughts that I have is whether or not it is just simply what it is because that's what it's meant to be. The amount of negativity is equal to the amount of positivity, and it's not because one's good and one's bad. It's just because everything is energy, and energy is never destroyed. And so, if you're just
it's the same old energy floating about.
Exactly. And I would say that there's going to be sways between the two. There's going to be pretty rare that we're ever at a level of equilibrium in general. Arguably maybe within all of existence the universe is at equilibrium.
Yeah.
But I don't think that makes sense either. I think the system being in a state of growth makes way more sense. Because everything's always changing, which means that there's reactions happening, which means difference, which means new, which means growth, So, but I thought about this a while ago to sort of tie it in. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to actually have something like a world that's truly fair? Like, people talk about my life's so unfair. It's like, well, actually think about it. Do you want a fair life? Because I'd prefer an unfair life that's tilted towards the good. I'd prefer, actually, this is super unfair. Like, I have way more good than bad in my life, but we always look at unfair as a negative connotation because, it's unfair. It means you're hard done by. But if you think about it in terms of, in general, 50-50, fairness, equal good, equal bad, that's actually not that great of a setup.
Because you just kind of not really want to enjoy yourself, so you don't have to be sad.
Exactly. It's like you're either going to mellow out in this middle ground of averageness, or you're going to just have to deal with these crazy extremes of really high highs and really low lows.
Yeah, it makes me think that notion makes me think of like maybe why there feels like there's such an imbalance in this world, because like those people, the 1% that we mentioned, are like living in this tilted thing where they're like not having to experience much bad, and that almost maybe creates an imbalance in subconscious that is like almost generational, like not like generational trauma, but on that sort of thing of just this tilted version of how reality should be. And maybe we should I just take a note out of like those Buddhist monk dudes out of their book, just like how they are just like how they starve themselves and stuff just like to obtain that balance of good and bad. They like sort of punish themselves in a certain aspect to reach that yin and yang, and I find that fucking cool. And I feel like that must create some sort of just balance within like
the collective,
the ether, whereas these motherfuckers, well, I don't know, they could be good people for all I know. They could be doing the right thing.
I mean, I like to think that everybody has a certain level of baseline suffering, right? Everyone you ever know and love is going to die, which sucks, right? When nobody survives this life, that in itself is enough to hurt you, because if you're lucky enough to have people that you love, you're also going to have to deal with the opposite side of that, which is losing those people. So you got a pretty level life experience there of love and heartbreak because of having the love and then losing the love. Yeah. And then what you're talking about the 1%, or let's just put it in the way of the systems that are in place, whoever's fault that is no one really knows. I mean, you can blame it on where we are now, but it could be a whole bunch of things that led to that. The 1% could just be the generation of people however long ago that we went, hey bro, can you look after this? And you look after that. It just turns out those things became massive industries, you know? It might not be everyone's fault in that sense, but the point I was getting at is like, fuck, I lost it. Damn, it was right there too. Oh, bugger. I hate that.
I was with you.
Yeah, you were.
I started just thinking about the whole just notion of industry and just money, and I know I've kind of I'm not going to go into this thought loop.
Yeah. People have. Well, let's just go with a new line, which I've kind of run from, whether it links up or not is a whole other thing. People have a certain amount of control always in their life, and as much as I want to assume that there is a good chance that there's a force that's dictating everything, I think that there's a force that dictates or creates a certain type of reality. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you have a baseline level of suffering in your life just because that's what life has.
Yeah.
But then maybe the experience that we're currently having is causing more people to have more suffering than they actually should on average in their life, which means that overall there might be a little bit more of that negative, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, energy that's making shit a bit more hardcore for people at the moment. And like you were saying earlier, to connect that with the 1%, it's like maybe it's actually for a purpose and there's a reason for that, and people need to kind of have their ass kicked a little bit so that they can go, well, what's really important here? Because if you don't have the ass kicking and you go straight into the utopia, then nobody actually has any value for the world that they live in. You know? So, and then this is where
no one knows what ass kicking is.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, you got to have your ass kicked to be like, don't kick people in the ass.
Well, what you just said has made me think of, like, it plays into what I was thinking before of, like, how maybe people are suffering a little bit more than what they have to. Maybe it's due to there's people that are like
causing that suffering.
And causing that suffering, maybe by the imbalances, they're enjoying themselves more than they have to without having to suffer. So that suffer sort of plays out somewhere else within the collective.
Yeah. And I think that's very feasible.
Yeah, and it's like just so happened that we just scope in on all the stuff, and all the people that don't want, they're like hush about all the fun that they're having, like all this weird shit that goes on fucking, like, you know, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That we don't see. We only see all the bad stuff, so it's just like, holy shit, this world is aching, but like... Yeah,
there could be people just experiencing ecstasy constantly, and that's sort of also imbalancing the amount of good that can be in the world.
But yeah, I don't want to think, it's like, not really, people aren't enjoying themselves at the expense of others suffering.
Yeah.
But like, there's got to be some sort of balance though.
I agree. And I think that's where it circles back again to the amount of control that people will actually have, I think, is underestimated. You and me alike. And that's why I like doing this concept and having this conversation with as many just people that I know, and not necessarily trying to talk to world leaders or whatever, you know. Open to it, obviously. I'll talk to anybody. But the point is that there is a very good chance that this is actually just an education problem, and a lot of people have never thought about this concept. They don't know it's possible. They don't have the self-belief or whatever, but more importantly, they might just not have the time to give a shit or think about it or contemplate it as a possibility. But that's where I come in my mind as a contributor towards the time that can be spent on it in order to like grow this concept, because essentially what we're talking about here is like where people's energy is being put and the distribution of positive and negative energy within the world, the collective consciousness of you as an individual. So me as an individual within the collective figured, you know, why not talk about this? Because then I'm creating a consistent line of people that have all thought about the same idea. Yeah. And that in itself plays its own role in the
that grows the bubble of the collective thing. And even the people watching it, it's beautiful. Like, because like people watch it and then think those thoughts, and it's just like we get enough people on board with the thoughts, man. We start to make a little bit of a thing. I like it. I see where you're at.
That's why I'm doing this.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. It's cool.
Yeah. It's a funny one because it often like folds in on itself. You know? You're talking about it and then you're like, oh, we need to do this. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're doing it.
But it's great how it's evolved from just a question. It's not just the question, but it's like the conversation concept.
Yeah.
And I was joking with you the other night how like 10 years from now when like the apocalypse happens and we all forget how to have a conversation. We can all go back onto Spotify and relearn how to have an in-depth conversation with one another by thinking about this and putting these good thoughts into the ether, you know?
Yeah.
And having good conversations.
It's essential, bro.
Yeah. It is fucking essential, isn't it?
Speaking of ether, I've had this pop into my head a couple of times too while we've been at it. What does that word mean to you? Like ether? What is that?
The everything that's not like exactly present to us. Maybe the physical can involve it, but just like I guess the metaphysical, just like the ether, just like maybe the collective consciousness, the universe, whatever it may be, just the big unknown, I guess.
Okay.
The ether. Yeah.
Because
it's a good question though.
Yeah. I think of ether now because I saw this video of some guy talking about 5G towers and how they place them in the shape of a flower of life in order to generate synthetic ether. All right. So yeah, I know that's a lot.
Yeah, I like it. I'm not gonna.
I knew you were going. Yeah. So that made me think that maybe ether isn't so much like how you described it, sort of this thing that isn't really here. What if ether is the base of what here is?
So it's like everything, but not.
Yeah, it's like everything before it's observed is ether.
Yeah.
So it's like the general resting or the general. No, I don't want to call it resting energy, but the general energy that creates matter when interacted with consciousness is ether, and so the way that this guy described it in relation to the whole 5G tower thing is that those towers in that shape are creating a synthetic ether, which is basically a field or a kind of a blanket of energy that we exist within, right? And so stuff like pyramids and that were the same thing. They did that where they resonated naturally with the ether that's there in order to then create more of it and at the natural resonant frequency. However, these ones that are being created by the towers supposedly are creating a unnatural frequency, and that's why they have so many repeaters and have to be powered because they don't naturally reciprocate the energy that's coming from the natural environment, whereas that's why you have
consolidate itself.
Yes. I think so that's why the pyramids and all of that, they didn't need that because they're in sync and in harmony with the environment, so they don't need that power generation because they're a power generator. They do it themselves. So it's an interesting one, man, because that then has, I guess, if it's real and that's what's happening, that frequency that's then unnatural and just a little bit off what it's meant to be affects people.
Yeah.
Mood, tightness, all that sort of stuff. So
it's kind of like on the buzz of, it's a little bit like far-fetched, but it reminded me of how when we wear synthetic clothing and it's like we get that static feeling on us because it doesn't flow with our how our energy field flows, and then it reaps us of energy because it's like statically taking our energy and sort of on that thing. It's like unnatural waves. Yeah, I can get on board with that big time.
Who dat?
Oh, that's my alarm to go into town.
Oh yeah, go time.
Well,
it's been pretty good. We got about halfway through a game of chess and we had a decent conversation. So
I've just moved there. If we want to just smash it out real quick,
we can smash out the game of chess. I mean, why not? Let's do a bit of a speedy. I'm not going to think at all. I think I'm just going to send it and just move.
Let's send it. I'm just going to send it as well. Yeah. In conclusion.
Yeah.
I think with this whole conversation concept, and if we just carrying on the notion of putting good thoughts into the ethos, I kind of believe disregarding free food and everything, I think that would come regardless. I think if we can shift our consciousness enough for money to not even be a thing, because it's money's our agreement. It's when we do broker deals with each other, money's the promise that we'll get it done, but also creates so much fucking evil.
Yeah.
But maybe if we these little things like this conversation concept and heaps of other things, shifting our consciousness to take a step into the right direction where maybe we don't need money, we can just go back to fucking trading vegetables or fucking like, you know, monkeys fucking taking nits out of each other. Maybe we could, maybe it could be alright. This is quite difficult, eh?
Yeah, to do both is...
Oh, do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm fucking not thinking about it. But yeah, I think maybe everything can be free and it won't be a cost to our purpose in life or create like an imbalance within like, you know, creating spoiled little brats in our society.
Right.
You know, I think as a like collective, cause it's like the 99% versus the 1%. We've got the reins of the collective consciousness, really.
Yeah.
We're holding the fucking shit because there's more of us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that I look at it, is that we have the majority of the power in that situation. So.
Yeah, and it's about like realizing it and coming and doing something with it, like as we can as people, like as a big family, because we're all the same people.
Check.
This is intense, man.
We're all a family.
Fuck you. Yeah, you're out. Oh shit.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of us all coming together in the whole no money aspect of things, I find the no money aspect of it to be a little bit harder to grip, and it's not because it's a bad idea or it doesn't, you know, make any sense. It's actually more because of people being so open to change, but change taking such a long time on a big scale. So it's like,
yeah, it never happens in a heartbeat or overnight. That's for sure.
Yeah, so if we want that kind of thing to happen, it would be quite a big shift. But I mean, the concept is more around the idea of like whether or not we can work with the system that we do have and adjust it slightly in order to get the result that we want without having to completely restart or completely reshuffle, or, you know, it's like it's an adjustment rather than
and it's not going to happen within our lifetimes as well. We can only just spark the bloody the snowball and hope that the snowball continues to roll down the hill.
Basically.
But I'm all about it. I want that. Well, humans are mostly good. Well, we do some cool stuff. We do music. All the creative stuff that we do makes us a good thing, you know, apart from all the debaucherous activities that humans seem to get up to.
Yeah, we do some pretty fucked up shit.
We do some pretty crazy shit. But as a whole, I think we should probably carry on as a bloody species and get it right. And we should probably put our best foot forward and not fuck it up.
Yeah, we got to do something good somewhere along the line.
And here you are doing a good thing, so high five to that.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah. I mean, you know, because I've said this a couple of times, but it feels a little last straw vibes. You know, I'm like, I don't know. There's only so much you can do, and I think I've realized my biggest like weapon, I guess, is just my conversations. You know, but no, something silly like that. Fuck.
But yeah, no, you've got a wicked mind and you've definitely harnessed your ability to have a good conversation, which is great. You know,
yeah.
Find your strong points and do them because it's good. I love it. Inspiring shit.
Yeah.
Check.
Since day one, it's been a bit of an ability, the old conversations. Can't deny that they've come naturally and from a household of people that also do the same, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's pretty crack up.
It's a pretty wild game of chess, man.
Shit.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well.
You got it. Oh,
Check.
don't do that one. That's a dumb one to do.
Oh, well.
No.
Oh, I still can't really do anything about it. Check. Oh, what's gonna happen, man? Should we call this a draw? I should get out of here.
I like that.
Yeah.
Draw.
Great
Great game,
nice,
great conversation.
Nicely played. Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Well spoken, well played.
Yeah, indeed. All right, beautiful, bro. That's a goodie.
Hell yeah.